It's a Victory Tuesday. Welcome. This is 0 to 60. I'm Bree. That's Matt. We're brought to you by Bet Online. I'm going to jump right into the ad read because we got a lot to talk about here. 0 to 60 is sponsored by Bet Online. The last of the major pro sports leagues is off and rolling, and college basketball is on its way as well. Bet Online remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, and NHL are all in full swing, and Bet Online is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action, along with every other sport, is available at your fingertips with desktop and mobile access at any time. Head on over to Bet Online today and remember to use our promo code. That's BLEAV for your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And if you took my bet that I threw out yesterday, and that was a Cortland Sutton touchdown, plus I took the over on his yards, I think that was a pretty smart bet. I don't know if Matt listened to me or not, though. Sometimes I'm not quite sure. Matt, did you choose a Cortland Sutton touchdown?
I did. I actually hit on the Cortland Sutton touchdown. I hit on the Broncos winning, but I didn't go with my gut. We had discussed I was going to take Kincaid and Murray, and I didn't. And if I would have gone with my gut, I would have hit pretty big last night. But it is what it is. You roll with the punches.
You're right. I talked you out of that one. It felt a little risky there for Kincaid. I did not think they were going tight end.
Yeah, and they went first touchdown to him, and Josh Allen ran one in. So everybody that we discussed to put bets on that didn't do, they all scored. That would have been a huge payout. But look, that's the beauty of it, and don't chase bets. That's a fact. Don't do it on Bet Online. But it is the best place for all of your gambling needs and all of your wagering needs. So they do a great job, and they do a great job supporting the show, and we're very, very thankful for them. Look, the dub is the most important part.
Sure. It's a Victory Tuesday. I don't know how to feel. I was telling everybody last night, we did a live reaction over on Let's Talk Broncos. I was too tired to really have a reaction. Listen, those Monday night games are no joke, but I think it's really important to discuss the streaks that got ended by the Denver Broncos. A Monday night football streak that was, I believe, eight instances, 8 seasons, 8 multiple. Since when?
2012 against the Chargers when they were still in San Diego.
Also, I didn't know this, and honestly, the Broncos-Bills don't face off this often. However, they hadn't won in Orchard Park since 2007. That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a house of horrors. That place is hard to win at for a division opponent, let alone the Broncos. Look, that win last night, and we're going to talk about all of it, obviously. We're going to get into the ins and the outs, the ups and the downs, but it's monumentally important. It makes Sunday night against Minnesota, and we'll both be there, and we'll be posting, and being as I don't really go to games. I know you're a season ticket holder, Bree. Do they have good internet and Wi-Fi there? Can you live stream? Can you live stream and post while you're at the game?
I mean, I don't see why you can't. I post all the time. I'm usually live tweeting the game right from my seat. So yeah, I guess we could go live. I don't think we'll go live on 0 to 60, but who knows? There's a whole halftime to fill time with.
Yeah, so we'll probably figure out something for halftime and just give everybody an update. But I'd like to explore a way to maybe educate everybody on what we're going to see Sunday night, because I think that's going to be one hell of a football game. Minnesota is real, and Dobbs is real. We had Brady Quinn on yesterday, the great Brady Quinn from Two Pros and a Cup of Joe in the morning with Jonas Knox and that bad man LeVar Arrington. And then he's also on the Big Noon Kickoff on Fox with my ex-teammate and brother Joel Klatt, and then Matt Leinart and Coach Meyer and Mark Ingram and everybody else. And he was talking about the fact that Dobbs and how special it is, and he should win comeback player of the year. And then I look at Russell Wilson and I'm like, well, he should win comeback player of the year because he's balling right now from a stat perspective. I know you may think differently, but there's a lot to unpack there. So I'd like to figure out a way to educate everybody on Sunday night.
Sure, absolutely. And we'll be doing some preview work right here on 0 to 60. So stay tuned this week. Although you bring up an interesting conversation there. The Broncos are now on a 3-game win streak. They have the opportunity to make it 4 Sunday night against the Vikings. But the Vikings are now a turnaround team. You've got Josh Dobbs, who is doing some crazy, insane stuff. It's a really fun narrative for that evening's game. However, I worry it's another test. And somebody didn't like how I approached this last night because I wasn't head over heels with what the Broncos were able to do. It wasn't a convincing win over Buffalo. The defense had 4 turnovers that were basically squandered out there, leaving points off the board at every attempt. The Broncos and the Bills were trading blows on who wanted to win the game the least. At least that's how it looked, obviously, to me as a fan. But I do think that there was, I guess, a forward trend. There was good news from the offense in the first half. The second half of football was pretty bad. You saw Russell Wilson having to scramble more often. There was a little bit of hesitation to maybe what he was reading in his progressions. I don't know what the play design is. I don't understand what Sean Payton is doing here, but it works in the first half. It didn't work in the second half, and it got a little dicey. The Broncos were not putting up a whole ton of scoring. And I know that you want to isolate where the wide receivers were and if they were missing some routes, but there were some underthrown balls that were leaving Cortland Sutton open to being hit and taken out of that game. Thankfully, he came back. It doesn't look too serious, but I think there's still concerns to be had about Russell, at least what Russell Wilson is capable of doing. I don't think that I harp on him too often, at least on these live streams. I think there's an idea that what you're able to get out of Russell Wilson is in a limited spectrum to what maybe you would have assumed you'd get out of him 6 years ago in Seattle. And so I think that he has improved. I think the offense continues to gel and there's less variability there. They're not really trying too many new things, but when it doesn't work out, it's loud. And Russell Wilson needs a lot of time to throw the ball. So, Matt, I want to hear from you on how you feel about this, because there were some complaints that the offensive line was dictating what Russell Wilson needed to do instead of the other way around. Can you let me know what you saw specifically from the Bills game? Because I know it's kind of been it's been like a 180-degree turn for every single game. Sometimes the O-line's good, and sometimes Russell Wilson is making them look kind of bad, and vice versa. What's the push and pull there with the offensive line and Russell Wilson from last night's game?
All right, so look, there's so many things that played into this victory last night. It was a very weird game. Russell, I don't know how many sacks they gave up, but they gave up 2 back-to-back. And they were 100% Russell Wilson holding the ball too long and not getting rid of the ball to the check down. So that's going to go on the offensive line, but Russ is a part of the protection too. You know, when I talked to quarterbacks, talked to Brady Quinn yesterday, when I had a consult this morning with the high school quarterback, first thing I always ask them is who's responsible for the quarterback's protection. And if they say the offensive line, they need to be educated. It's the quarterback. The quarterback is responsible for the quarterback's protection. So number one, Russell's got to get rid of the football to check downs, tight ends, the safety throw that's there. He's got to be better at reading that. Now, he is extremely efficient, yet his accuracy was awful. I mean, the throw to Sutton that he fumbled on, I think he fumbled because he had to go so low to get it. He came back up, and when he came back up, he was so tall because he went from so low. That's the way it works. And the defender struck him, pretty hard, and the ball popped out. Look, ball security is one thing, but an on-target throw allows him to turn and get the first down instead of go back to the ball and catch it low. The throw to Judy late, that's a touchdown. His footwork was awful. He looked gun-shy at that point, like he's been hit so much that he didn't want to step through the throw. That's why you tell defensive linemen 1.5, 2 steps. If he finishes a throwing motion, it's probably a foul. If you blow on him too hard, it's probably a foul these days in the NFL. But what I'm saying is that's what you're looking for. You want the hesitancy and the quarterback and his footwork when you strike him in the fourth quarter. That's what you're looking for. So they're lucky that the Buffalo defender didn't play the ball correctly and didn't look back, didn't play through the arms, and his technique was terrible. And look, it's a win's a win. I'll take it. Winning in Orchard Park is really, really difficult. They were, big-time underdogs, 7-point dogs on the road, Monday Night Football. That I knew that number was crazy, and it ended up being nuts. The offensive line was extremely productive running the football. Quinn Miners, brother, I salute you. 7-7 needs to get paid right now. That might be the best run-blocking guard in football at the moment, and that's including Quentin Nelson. So that man was destroying people yesterday. I can't wait.
I've been watching videos all day long. He yeeted a linebacker. Do the kids still say yeet? He yeeted him. He threw him across the field. I think that's really important to note that, because I was saying that last night. Give him his flowers, because the run game wasn't really able to establish anything. The Broncos were working to manifest that. They had about 120 yards. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't fanatical. But can we talk a little bit more about Quinn Miners and his absolute dominance out there? Because I think it's really important to note he's doing his job. There's something else at work here, because the running backs do have a tendency to just slam themselves straight into a brick wall. So I did want to highlight Quinn and what he's been able to do this season.
I mean, Quinn's moving that wall. I mean, Quinn has made the guard position here for this football team a massive advantage. I mean, his leverage is incredible. His footwork's incredible. The way that he climbs on double teams is crazy. He can ace as well as deuce, which means most of the time on an ace block, you're the drive player and the center's the post player. And then when he's the guard, he's the post player, because you're playing the 3 technique and that's your man. And look, it changes the way you step. It changes your leverage of positions, how hard you can go after the guys. His body control is excellent. He has really developed into one of the best guards in football. He needs to get paid. They cannot let him leave. Like, I would rather Bowles and McChesney leave than Cush and Quinn. Like, they have got to find a way to keep these two together and keep them together for 10 years. Don't Connor McGovern this. Don't develop the shit out of a great player and just let him leave in free agency to go play for somebody else. It doesn't make sense. Powers last night struggled a little bit, but in the run game, he was excellent. They can really run the football. I love the big tight end they brought off the practice squad, number 85. He looks like he might be able to play. Look, Sean Payton, we talked about this at length, but he was forced into playing this way. And even though they only ran for 120 yards, it's the amount of carries and the commitment to the running game, which is why I was so impressed with it, because they struggle in so many other aspects. They know they can't just sit back and throw the football. Russell can't do that anymore. But you know what he can do? He can run this offense and play into a defense that's giving up 13 points a game now over the last month, and to shut down Kansas City twice and run one on the road in Orchard Park, and has a massive opportunity Sunday night to just absolutely shock the world and beat a Minnesota team that they should win at home. Like, we should be favored, and they should beat Minnesota at home. I don't care how good of a story Dobbs is. That is an extremely winnable home game, and I don't know what the rest of the schedule looks like. I just know who's on it, and it is advantageous for the Bronco and Broncos countries to think that they're a playoff team if Russell and Peyton play like they're doing right now. They coach like this, and they play like this at the quarterback position, and they're limiting mistakes and maximizing play action opportunities. I don't care how many yards he throws for. I care about efficiency. He's got a lot to improve on, but they can win like this, and that's all that really matters.
I'm going to challenge that just a little bit, because you're playing against a Josh Allen who looked absolutely miserable out there. You had a defense that was creating a ton of turnovers and pressure, which you're not going to see in there. 4 turnovers is not like an ideal circumstance for any team to try to combat with. Allen was overwhelmed. He has a tendency to roller coaster through his career. I think you saw that last night, and it was a coin toss of whether or not you were going to see that. And then to stamp the seal of approval on that narrative, they go ahead and they fire their offensive coordinator this morning about 40 minutes ago. Ken Dorsey is out in Buffalo, so they've gone ahead and admitted they fired their offensive coordinator this morning.
Right, so did I not tell everybody yesterday on this show, on Coach JB's show, on this show, on the 2:00 show, don't be surprised if Denver wins and Ken Dorsey gets fired. So guess what? Denver won, Ken Dorsey got fired. You're welcome. Mic drop.
But there's a question of whether or not it really is truly his fault, because I think the Bills have been going through, the Bills fandom can probably speak to this a little bit better, but they have constantly gone through, it's not good enough. And now they've made this change. I'm looking through the comments real quick because I saw something I wanted to comment on. There's a lot of directions that we can we can go through. Looks like Matt really wants to talk about this one. We're going to hop into Joey B. Matt, how does the too many men on the field penalty happen in that situation in the NFL? It's amazing. The Bills special teams coach is going to will they have a job next week? We're obviously talking about the kick to end the game. I don't know if you're watching the Manning cast, you saw Eli Payton and the guy Kyle Brandt react to it, where obviously the kicker misses the kick and the Broncos are able to have another try at a field goal because there was too many men on the field. How does 12 happen out there, specifically when you have the guy in the backfield who should be able to count across the line? It wasn't rushed. It wasn't to the point where I don't think you notice these things. Matt, talk to me from a player's perspective, how crazy that was. Just how does it happen?
All right, so watching it live, I was wondering why they didn't kick the ball on third down. Now, after reviewing it a couple of times and thinking about it more, I am super impressed with Sean Payton and his manipulation of Sean McDermott. I think that he played his ass like a fiddle. A fiddle. Like, I'm telling you, and this is my rationale here, okay? So they didn't kick it on third down because he knew in the back of his head, I think, I saw him talking with Coach Westhoff all night. And I know Mike Westhoff. Mike Westhoff was the special team coach at the Jets. He is a great coach. He was awesome. He was always good to me. He gave me tons of opportunity. He was the coach there for 3 years. He is a bad man. He's one of the best special teams coaches ever. They were talking constantly in the second half. There was always shots of Westhoff on the sideline talking with the special teams coach because Westhoff is like an assistant, like consultant, but he runs shit. That's Mike Westhoff. So they were struggling immensely with the snap, the hold, like laces were out or laces were in on one of the kicks that they missed. I mean, for God's sakes, laces out, Dan. Einhorn's is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn's is a man. Like, we're in trouble. So I think that Sean Payton knew that there was the potential of fucking this up. And definitely there was because they missed the kick. So he knew that I guarantee you they saw something on tape where Buffalo struggled getting guys on and off the field in situations where it's rushed. They saw it on tape somewhere this year. And somebody brought it up and they said, okay, if this happens, because I'm Sean Payton and that's the kind of shit I'm looking for from a head coach.
The attention to detail.
Details. It makes me eat crow. And I love that shit. Pour some barbecue sauce on it. Nom, 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 nom. So listen, let me finish. So when he does that and they don't kick it on third, they take a knee and rush off, it confuses the hell out of Buffalo. Buffalo has one of their guys running on the Broncos sideline on like the 20 to get off the field. They end up with 12 people on the field because they're rushed because there was a lack of communication, obviously. And the Broncos saw that. That didn't just happen. So they missed the kick, and it's almost Sean Payton didn't react negatively. If you saw him on film, he was like, "Well, okay, I planned this. I knew Lutz was going to fuck this up, or the snapper would, or the holder, and they did. But Buffalo has 12 men on the field because of the hurry up, and because of the confusion, and because of how he manipulated the moment. So I know people may not buy that, but being in the special teams room with Mike Westhoff for as long as I was and paying attention like I do. And the more I think about it, the more I watch it, the more I think that's what happened and the more respect I have for it because it essentially gave them another opportunity to kick the field goal and win the game, which they did. So, number one, hats off. That's some Mike Westhoff genius right there mixed with Sean Payton's, big ass cojones and the ability to go do that. And, Sean Payton loves to manipulate the rules a little bit. He's a coach that definitely is can I get forgiveness rather than permission? And that's how I operate. So I dig it. But we need to really work out a new long snapper. We need to figure out why we can't hold the goddamn football correctly. And I know we traded for Will Lutz, but bro, he is really struggling. And with a team like this, the Broncos defense is so elite when they play at their level, and they can really hammer the ball. And we've got a quarterback that might be able to put us in the best situation to be successful. Like, look at the Jets. The only reason that they're even in games is because of Legatron, Greg Zuerlein. Getting rid of McManus looks like a massive mistake right now, and they've got to try and fix the kicker position. I don't know how you do it. There's not like a good kicker out there. Oh, wait, there's an unbelievably good kicker that doesn't have a job out there, who's one of the best I've ever seen, who just might be able to kick it from 70 yards at elevation. His name's Mason Crosby. Pick up the phone, dog. Call Mason Crosby, put him on this football team, and you've got an elite special teams unit instead of a poo special teams unit. God damn, they're bad.
You look like that Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme where he's got, like, Charlie Day has got all those pinpoints and strings across the board, and you're like trying to connect different, and you're like wired. I don't even know how much caffeine you've consumed this morning, but I know, and I can assume that it's a lot. I want to give kudos to that perspective, because I think it's really important that my brain really didn't even go there. Patrick George echoes my sentiment. Thank you, Patrick, for your comment. If you want to get your comments highlighted, you can submit them over in the YouTube chat, and I might get to them. I might not. I don't know how I feel today, but I don't think it's that crazy, because for a second I was like, what tinfoil hat bullshit is this? But the idea that there's a maniac in both Mike Westhoff and Sean Payton that are both football junkies is that did they see, I chose specifically not to wear that shirt. I didn't want to be matchy with you today, but is there a propensity that it was that much detailed and detail oriented? Is that the coach that you think both of them exist in that plane? Because honestly, my perspective on that entire thing is they didn't want to give Josh Allen, struggling or not, any time in order to go out there and kick that field goal. That it wasn't
true.
Well, yeah, but I think that the idea that Sean Payton practices down to the minutia of a field goal in a time expiring situation, because we saw 5 of those already on Sunday. He painted the Bills logo on the practice field. I mean, he is a stickler for details. He is crazy enough to say if you practice it that way, that's how you're going to execute it in a game. Like, he just is very much so attention to detail here. So you've really opened up something in my brain where I didn't even think that was something that you would consider there. My brain has exploded. It's melted. I've proved to myself that I need to consume some more caffeine. So I'm going to chug the Celsius here in a second. Yeah. But not so crazy, not so tinfoil hatty. I think we got to clip that, post it up here on Twitter. And if you're not following either of us, what's wrong with you? Go ahead and tell them what to do. Smash the like button.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Follow at 60 Academy on all the platforms. Follow Bree Maces 303 on all the platforms. She's the one that really makes this go. I'm like a pit bull and a laser pointer. I'm all over the fucking place. Without her, this bitch is off the rails, son. So keep us moving. What are we talking about? What's up?
Don't put this fucking evil on me right now. Okay. I'm not taking credit for any of this. I had a thought last night while we were watching the game. And I think I kind of mentioned it to start the show, but this season in general feels like 2 separate entities. It feels like one season and then capped off at the bye week, and it feels like another. I had to remind myself very much so that the season is only midway through. We still got a ton of football to play here in Denver, and you had asked, you knew what the matchups were. You didn't know kind of when they fall on the schedule here for the Broncos. Obviously, you have the Minnesota Vikings, you have the Browns at home, and then you go into a little bit of a gauntlet here with the Houston Texans, the Chargers, the Lions. Those are all away. Then they come back, Patriots, Chargers, and we cap the season off with the Raiders. There's a opportunity here for the Broncos to make a push for the playoffs. They're playing meaningful football in November, which honestly, to start the year, I did not see that as a possibility. I questioned whether or not the Broncos would win more than 2 games with how the season was going. They've turned it around. I'm singing a different tune. I'm apologetic in what I thought Sean Payton was doing here because it was a little scary. A lot of people need to apologize and write a handwritten letter to Vance Joseph and let him know how much they appreciate him. Make sure that the players realize that as well, that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're possibly not privy to. The Broncos tried something in the first half of the season. The second half of the season is now not only proving that they've learned their lesson, But taking that momentum, because any given Sunday, you have the opportunity to beat some really good teams. They just did that with Kansas City and the Bills. I will preface that statement with saying I don't know if the Bills are really good right now, but that's okay. I don't want to asterisk the Broncos' opportunity to win some big games here, but I'm worried about the Vikings. I'm worried about the Browns, which is a weird thing to say. I think we're living in an alternate reality right now as I continue to say these things. The Detroit Lions, I grew up in the 90s. I mean, I don't know what to tell you here, but the schedule is not easy, but they need to win 5 of the next 8 to really make it push at the playoffs. How do you see those games kind of working out? Do you want me to repeat them to you so you know the – Okay, perfect.
Look, they have 2 against the Chargers. The Chargers will charge her. That's not a good football team. You can beat the shit out of them. Look, I think the Broncos are a playoff team. And I think when they beat Minnesota on Sunday night, because Minnesota's won a lot straight. The Broncos, I think they've won 5 straight. The Broncos are trend breakers this year. They are streak breakers. They are breaking streaks left and right. Now Minnesota's coming in with one. Josh Dobbs is on top of the world. They haven't played a defense like the Broncos at home. They played San Francisco's defense in Minnesota. They're not in Minnesota. Reisner is going to be pumped up for this one coming home. You know, starting left guard for the Vikings, used to be a Bronco. He's going to be pumped. You need to go after his ass. That's just a fact, because he's going to come after you. That's also a fact. So I love the Broncos' schedule and how it lines up. I like the fact that there's competitive seeding playoff games everywhere, all over the schedule. So it makes December football in Denver relevant again. And thank God. I mean, for how many years straight have we gotten done with Thanksgiving and we're like, okay, what's our draft position? Who gives a shit about these games? Let's play some rookies. Clear the practice squad so we can just see what we got. Now they're competitive, and I got to tip my cap to Coach Payton I want Russell Wilson to improve big time, but it looks like he's got a team around him now that can support like some really questionable throws and some bad decisions at the same time. He made some good throws and some good decisions. So you got to take the good with the bad with him. Look, the Broncos have figured out how to win with their personnel. And for the last 8 years, 7, 8 years, that's been my beef, is we're not maximizing. We're trying to do things with personnel we don't have. And Cortland Sutton has been outstanding, one of the best red zone receivers in football. Not surprising that he's, popping off like this, especially with Russell Wilson playing as well as he's playing off play action. Even soft bones Jerry Jeudy has been really good. I mean, you got to really think about re-signing that kid and keeping the core together. So I think that this team has a ton of potential. And offensively, I think that the production starts and stops with the offensive line, the run game, and Javonte Williams. And that kid last night was delivering blows. The way he hit Taylor Rapp, and Taylor got up with like arm hanging all low, and like I've had that happen to me before, like trying to arm tackle Adrian Peterson. That don't work. So that kind of hammer, when you're delivering blows rather than getting hit on running the football, man, it can really, really, really do some damage to people. So I'm really excited about the Broncos, bro. Broncos country. We got a team in Denver, bro. Sunday night is the biggest game in the last 10 years in Denver. You got to go show out, or 8 years since the Super Bowl. It's the biggest game in Denver since the Super Bowl. Get your asses down to Empower, to that's what it's still called, right? To Mile High.
We don't call it that. Why would we call it that? Who calls it that?
Mile High and get the party going, because that is going to be one fun ass football game.
It will be. Joey Richards from Let's Talk Broncos, my co-host over there, says the Broncos finally have an identity. He's been a number one Sean Payton supporter in our group chat, and the idea that Sean Payton has formed the identity that he intended upon. It may not have been perfect to start the season, but you're slowly starting to see the knots tie themselves together, the gaps close, and possibly the margins for the Broncos having a disappointing season for the 8th or 9th consecutive year go out the window. Joey's a little bit higher on this team right now than I am. I think I'm still tired from a Monday Night Football game. But Joey, we appreciate your comment. Looks like Joey B has another question for Matt and myself. Is 2024 the year to draft a QB and mold as a QB in waiting? Too much talent at QB position in the draft not to go after a QB to replace Wilson in a few years. Honestly, it sounds pretty smart. Matt, I know you've talked about this previously on a couple of the shows. And you just spoke to Brady Quinn, who is the foremost authority in this realm. What did he have to say about that? What did you glean from that conversation?
And look, everybody in the chat, everybody listening, make sure you go back and listen to Brady's interview yesterday. It's on YouTube, obviously. Subscribe and like everything. Make sure you support his foundation. He was awesome. I mean, we really broke down a lot of these players. And I'll just go back over the list. Guys that are draft eligible in 2024, Caleb Williams, Penix Jr., Nix, Hartman, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, who Brady's super high on. Go back and listen to what he had to say about it. But there's going to be second, third round, fourth round quarterbacks that are dudes. Remember, like Dobbs is, I don't know, he went in the 6th round or something. So I don't care where you find talent. I care how you evaluate it and then develop it. So I would not be shocked at all especially if Denver's good. Like that's a destination for a quarterback. So you're probably not going to get a Caleb Williams, Shedeur Sanders, Drake May. I don't think Shedeur comes out this year. In fact, I know he's not going to. But if they don't like Penix Jr.'s throwing motion because he's a lefty, or a guy like Bo Nix who drops to the 2nd or 3rd round and he's started more games in college than anyone in history, or Sam Hartman, the big quarterback from Notre Dame who's got a beard like Dan Fouts and literally had his mother macrame a bone necklace made out of his own fucking rib cage around his neck. That guy's a savage. Oh, you didn't know this?
Wait, no, and I want one. Can I have it for Christmas?
Well, it was his own rib bone, though. So he got hurt. They had to do surgery. Yeah, listen. They had to do surgery. They took out a piece of his rib. Okay. They got the rib. They cut it into like whatever and cleaned it. And then she made a necklace, and he wore his own rib around his neck to the game in Ireland when they beat the Navy's ass at the beginning of the year. Like, your quarterback shows up with a bone necklace, his own fucking rib cage. Might want to draft that guy. I know Bree's sitting back like, how do I get a bone necklace? This sounds fucking amazing. She loves dead shit, so we can figure this out quick. And then, like, with Jaden Daniels, the kid from LSU, he is absolutely balling this year, and he could fall. So you're looking at everything in a perspective of the future of this football team. And if you can get a guy and then sit him behind Russ and you're winning, that's a recipe for extended greatness rather than just a bubble of it. So we will obviously talk about this more as we go on. We're not doing the show tomorrow morning. Keep that in mind. But Thursday morning, we will discuss this as we preview Thursday Night Football and whatnot.
When we do discuss it, I have a question for you I want you to ponder upon. Is Russell Wilson a mentor type? Are we looking at a mentor who could take a quarterback of that caliber under his wing, lead them, coach them up? Is that what you would want for cultivating that type of talent? We're not going to talk about it right now because I don't want to. What is that?
That's a great question for Thursday right there. I got to ponder that one.
Okay, you do have to ponder it. That's why I'm driving the show. Follow us over on our social 60 Academy over on Twitter, Bree Maestas 303. And if you're not already, go check out 60equipment.com. If you want a shirt, because everybody does, you can go on over to the store, 60 Strength. That's /store. And then you're here, like and subscribe, because I know you want more content from the both of us, maybe just from Matt, but listen, I'm working on my ego a little bit. The show is brought to you by Bet Online, so make sure you tune in, subscribe, please, and hit the like button before you leave. If not, I'll find you. I do like dead shit, but it's got to be of my own creation. Matt, 2 p.m. show, what you got going on?
Man, the 2 p.m. show is special to the big guy's heart. It's fitting that we're doing the show down at 60 today. That's where I'm at. And she does love that shit. She sent me a picture the other day. No, never mind. Well, I'll tell you. And she took a picture of like a landscape, and she's just wrote on the bottom, "This is where I'm going to dump your body." And I was like, oh, shit. So we've got.
That's the photo you're talking about. Got it.
Yeah, so Chad Muma, the outstanding linebacker from Legend High School, finished second in the Buckets of Wyoming, 3rd round draft pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. One of their premier defensive players is going to be joining the program at 2 p.m. to talk about 6-0 Academy and the importance of it in his development and the recruiting process and his development in Wyoming and his transition into the NFL, being a third rounder and being a mainstay for a really good defense and a great football team down in Jacksonville, playing with another Colorado product and Andrew Weingard, who went to Ralston Valley. Just, having a guy like that on the show, a kid that I've been working with since he was a whip at 16 years old at Legend High School, and watching him develop into a grown-ass man with high aspirations, and it looks like a 10-year NFL career in front of him. The great Chad Muma will join us at 2, and I cannot wait to talk to my boy.
Awesome. We'll see you at 2 p.m. We'll catch you back tomorrow. I don't know. We'll just be here all the time. That's why you got to hit that notification button, and Matt will talk at you later.
Bye.